Hi, my name is Steve Hanson. I'm President and CEO of ACME Lithium. A pleasure to be with you here today, Merlin. We are an explorer and developer of multiple projects focused on domestic lithium production in North America. We have 2 projects in the state of Nevada and a group of projects in southeastern Manitoba, as well as a large land position in northern Saskatchewan. And we're excited about the year ahead in 2023. We're very active, and this is going to be a milestone year for us.
Steve, thank you for the introduction. Good to see you again. You are active indeed. You're putting out news releases of progress at Fish Lake, but on the other 2 projects, your 2 lead projects, your flagship projects, you're drilling. So could you give us an update on those 2 projects? Perhaps start in Canada.
Sure. Thanks for that, Merlin. You know, the only production currently in Canada for lithium is actually based out of southeastern Manitoba. And it's at a place called the Tanko Mine, which was bought by Sinomine, a very large Chinese company a number of years ago. And we are the largest landholder south of the Tanko Mine. We're contiguous to their mineral leases. In fact, their production is a couple kilometers away. The power lines that run and drive that mine run right through our project. And we've been active there for about a year and a half. We're very fortunate to have this block of claims. We own them 100%. And again, last summer we did extensive field work, including geochemistry, geophysics, structural mapping. There were known pegmatites on surface, and we uncovered some new pegmatites. So we worked diligently all fall on procurement and planning and permitting. We signed an agreement with Saugeen First Nation as well, and then we are pleased to announce this past January where we began a maiden winter drill program. So this is really the most exciting time to be an exploration company. This is the moment where discovery certainly has that potential. Again, we've been actively drilling in Manitoba since mid-January. We're going to drill up to 5,000 meters. And again, really excited to hopefully deliver on these results here in the near term.
And that's focusing on Shatford Lake, which is the kind of the lead project in that, sort of the lead prospect in that area.
That's correct. We've got a group of projects. Shatford Lake is sort of the leading one in that south of the Tanko Mine. There's a structural trend that goes from northwest to southeast, and we're actively drilling on some priority 1 and priority 2 drill targets there. And then we have another project directly east called Bird Lake, and then about 20 kilometers north, we have a project called Cat Lake. So a lot of activity in the region. We're really excited about it, and obviously we're near the only production in Canada, which obviously provides some advantages down the road as we go through the permitting process and into development, hopefully.
When you divvy up your 5,000 meters, have you allocated a certain meterage to those 3 prospects, Shatford, Bryce, and Shatford, Birth, and Cat Euclid? Have you given them a kind of 1,000 meters each and then just kind of see what happens, or are you just starting at Shatford and saying, if we onto a winner here, we're just going to do the whole 5,000 meters at Shatford?
Good question. A lot of our summer work was doing geochemistry and geophysics and structural mapping of all of our projects. But in fact, we focused on Shatford. Again, it's a very large land area. We've identified priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3 drill targets. We went through extensive permitting on a greater number of targets. But in this initial maiden program, we are focusing on Shatford Lake. So there's a particular band of area structurally that we're focused. We are poking a few holes sporadically throughout the area, but there is a particular region that we're focusing on. And we'll leave drilling at Cat Euclid Lake and Bird Lake, hopefully for a phase 2 or phase 3 program down the road.
Okay, gotcha. The way that these things normally go is you have a kind of a live program. You have a kind of a responsive and reactive drilling plan so that you can hit all of the targets that you want to drill. But equally, if you get something you do want or something you don't like to, you can shift the meters to where the site geologists and the executive team think is best according to what you see. Presumably you're doing something like that at the moment.
You are correct in that, Merlin. And in fact, that's why we permitted more sites and more drill holes than we planned to drill this winter program. It gives us flexibility as we start to learn more about what's beneath the ground. Again, this is our first drill program here. We're hoping to make a discovery, but we have some flexibility as to how many holes we drill at each site, and then obviously at which sites we focus on. So there's flexibility there, and again, you're correct, and that's our strategy and our mission here over the course of the winter.
It's always good to have operational flexibility when you're in a data poor area, and the best place to look for a mineral deposit is within the old saying is within the site of the head frame of the existing mineral deposit. And you can metaphorically see Tanco. I don't know whether you can actually see it, but you're very close to it, and so the chances of success, or the chances of the same geology hosting economically viable, or the potential for economic viability in the geology, is very high when you're close to an existing data point, like an existing operation. So presumably you're leveraging off what you know about the Tanco deposits to target your drilling as best you can at Shatford Lake.
Well, you're correct, and absolutely our proximity gives us a number of advantages. Rock to do stop and start, so there's no guarantee that we're going to make an economic discovery here, but certainly this is the right region to look, and why we've focused on this project being a couple kilometers south and being contiguous to Tanco's mineral leases has some advantages. Geologically, we think there's formations and structures here that have some similarities to Tanco. Again, the targets that we've drawn up here, we believe that have the best chance of success. The question really is, are we going to make a discovery on hole 2 or hole 22? And that's really the excitement and thrill of being an explorer and developer, and we're hopeful that we'll have some success with the drill bit. But there are some key advantages to being next to an operating mine. Obviously, the region has gone through a lot of history and permitting. We're not having to re-educate the local community and First Nations about mineral extraction. There's good technical people and services in the area. We're only about 75 kilometers away from the capital city of Manitoba. So, there's some advantages to being next to a mine that's in production, and logistically as well as geologically.
Presumably, you said you don't know whether you're going to hit it with a hole 2 or 22. It could. We hope it isn't, but it could be hole 42. But if you've got 5,000 meters, and presumably you're targeting relatively near surface features, so you could potentially drill 20, 25 holes if your hole depth is 200 to 250 meters.
Yeah, typically these structures can be, they can outcrop, but in many cases, such as Tanco, actually, the pegmatites were below surface. They were below, they weren't necessarily an outcrop. So you have to look for features and signatures that potentially could be under water, shallow water, whether it be bogs or swamps, in some cases not outcrops. So angle drilling does allow us to potentially hit structures that are below surface that are not known. We're drilling known structures that outcrop, but we're also drilling some structures that are below surface. So in many cases, our holes can be up to 500 meters. So, it really depends on the particular hole we're drilling and what we're seeing in the rock as we go. We can call holes earlier than we planned, or we can continue drilling deeper than planned. So we have flexibility on that. Again, this is a first initial drill program. I do have the flexibility also to drill more than 5,000 meters if the season will allow. You start to get some softening. Winter drilling with ice and snow allows you to drill on areas that are open, but as things soften up in the spring, it gets much, much harder to drill. So we'll drill as long as we can through the winter, and again, hopefully we'll have success with the drill bit.
And the aim is to wrap up that 5,000 meter program while it's still frozen, while it's still cold. Obviously, you can drill on the firmer ground even if it's warmer. But is the aim to complete it, say before May?
That is correct. I would expect that we would complete this program sometime in April.
And then I'm just trying to map out the how this comes through to the market, because you've got the kind of announcement to the end of drilling or the completion of what you've done, and then there'll be assay well, first of all, you've got to log it, you've got to cut it, do all of the QA, QC, all of the handling of the core and get it off to the labs at certain. So in the months after that, you'd expect to have the assays back.
Yes, I mean, there'll be rolling results, but we would expect to have results sometime in mid to late spring.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay, let's go. Let's head south of the border, the frontier, and into Nevada, please. A quick update there of the drill program. That'd be really helpful.
Sure. Well, we have two excellent projects in southwestern Nevada, which is really the epicenter of lithium development in the United States. In fact, the only production in the U.S. is in the southwestern region of Nevada in an area called Clayton Valley. Albemarle, a New York Stock Exchange company, $30 billion market cap, is a project there at Silver Peak. It's a brine project. They've been producing there since 1966. We are their neighbor contiguous to Albemarle to the northwest. We made a lithium discovery in brine there last summer, and we've been moving towards all fall in procurement and planning and permitting for a phase 2 expanded program at Clayton Valley. Our vision and goal here was to drill a test well and do a pump test to understand the aquifer, and then also do 3 step-out holes that will also understand the reservoir. So I'm pleased to announce that we started that program about 4 weeks ago. It's active right now. That program will take about 120 days. We're drilling in Nevada. So, it's really exciting time for ACME. We're drilling pegmatites in Manitoba, in Canada, near the only production in Canada. And we're drilling for brine in Nevada, near the only production in the United States. And then moving on across the foothills to... Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, so can we just stick with Clayton Valley for a second? So you've got that one well in there. So you're doing the extended pump tests. As you said, it's kind of it's like a 120-day program, kind of a 4-month program. So that'll take you through to the end of kind of towards the middle of the year, really. You also mentioned doing 3 other tests. Are those going to be done in parallel? Are those things that you can 3 other test wells, or are they sequential that come after your pump test?
So this is a 4-hole program, and there's 3 core holes that we're drilling that step out from the original discovery hole, and then we're drilling 1 test well that will have a pump test. So what happens is we made the initial discovery last summer. The test well and pump test will allow us to understand the reservoir and the various intervals that we've intersected. And then the step-out core holes will allow us to better understand the nature of the reservoir in the region. So they step out from the original discovery hole. We can hopefully, with success, again, there's no guarantees, but hopefully with success of this program, I mean, we're very optimistic. We can then triangulate those core holes and through the pump tests understand the potential. And I believe, based on the success of this, that we actually can use this information and get to an initial resource calculation. So again, we have to have success over this 120 days. We're very excited about this program. It's one of the largest brine programs that take place in the United States right now. We're in a highly productive region next to the only production in the U.S. And I believe that with success with the drill bit, over this winter and early spring, we can get to a resource calculation, hopefully sometime in 2023. Again, we've got to be successful here. But we're active. We're about 4 weeks in to this 120-day program and looking forward to providing results to our shareholders in the months to come.
Forgive my ignorance. When you do the 3 core tests, which are outside of the well test you're doing, is your well test, does it need a drill rig on it, or can you is the drill rig free to do the other 3 core tests, and is it a pump test that you're doing on the last year's well?
So actually the test well is a new hole that's basically twinning the discovery hole, and it's a wider hole. It's a rotary hole, and there's different testing we can do, and it's much more akin to drilling a water well or even the oil and gas industry. So there's potential productive intervals at various stages. There are known lithology in the region. We know the productive intervals from historical work that's been done in the region. Our main target is around 1,200 feet, but there are productive intervals that are much shallower and potentially much deeper. We drilled to 1,400 feet on that initial core hole last summer. we're actually brought in a larger rig this time, and we're drilling these holes to 2,000 feet. So we believe there's the potential to have intervals deeper and potential even higher grade as we go deeper. So again, it's an extended program. We're learning about new things as we go, about the nature of the reservoir. And again, this test well will allow us to do a pump test to understand pressure. Obviously, you need porosity and permeability, and the potential to produce from multiple zones here. So really, we need to understand the flow of the reservoir and then understand grade. And then at that point, we can hopefully be able to do a resource calculation initially. We need to be successful with this drill program.
It's a combination of oil and gas and mining in the truest sense. And so in parallel with that, you've got a core machine which is doing the 3 test wells. And are they also targeting the kind of the 1,200 foot main target? Is that the plan to triangulate with the core machine in parallel?
Absolutely. Yeah. So they, now that we have some lithology, we understand based on that first hole what we encountered. Every hole is going to give us new information in understanding in 2 dimensions, but also in 3 dimensions, the dynamics of the lithology, and then where ultimately we can produce from. So, geophysics, obviously only gives us a certain amount of information, but now with these multiple holes, we'll be able to have a better understanding of what's happening within the reservoir in this region. So hopefully with success, we'll be able to come up with an initial resource calculation.
Can you give me an indication of kind of just roughly how far away from your first well will you be putting in your kind of core? I mean, is this a step out of several hundred meters? Or am I
correct?
These
will be several hundred meters apart.
Yeah. Okay, great. Ongoing news on that as you go through your core program, but fundamentally the interpretation or the presentation of the results from the well test is going to be probably Q3, kind of after the middle of the year.
There may be information sooner, but I think that would be fair. We're about 30 days into a 120-day program, so we've got about 90 days to go. Yeah. We're still drilling our first hole. The first is actually a core hole. We'll move on to the test well as our second hole, and then move on to potentially 2 more exploration holes. It really depends on the success of the test well. We need confirmation that test well and pump test goes well. If that is the case, we will then go ahead and move on to drill in those further exploration holes. But we may have rolling news as we go in updating our investors. As we get material information and as it becomes available. We are sending brine and core off to the lab as we go. And so, again, we hope to have periodic updates to our shareholders over this next few months.
Okay, great. Thank you. And last but not least, Fish Lake.
Well, as you head over from Clayton Valley, as I mentioned, it's really the epicenter of development in the U.S. and the only production currently there at Silver Peak. As you move over the foothills to the west, you actually can drive a dirt road from there called Coyote Road, and you drive through a world-class lithium-boron project at Rhyolite Ridge that's run by an Australian company called Ioneer. They're a billion-dollar company. It's a very late-stage project. They've signed off-takes with Toyota, Panasonic, and Ford, and most recently, the U.S. government has announced that they're going to invest up to $700 million US into this project for construction and financing. So again, one of the top lithium boron projects in the world, and certainly one of the most advanced projects in North America. So it's not that far away from the current production. So this is hard rock and clay, again, a world-class project, and we are their neighbor to the west. So we're contiguous to that project. As you drive that road, Coyote Road, through Ioneer's project, and as you come down the hill on the other side, you drive right through our project at Fish Lake Valley. We have 2 core project areas, one called FLV1, FLV2. They are contiguous to each other, and we are to the west. We're only about 3 kilometers to the west of Ioneer's mining project, which is expected to go into construction here in about 10 to 12 months' time. So we've been active there. We've done groups of sampling and geochemistry on surface. We've done some geophysics there, which have identified some targets. And then most recently, we have announced the highest lithium values to date in sampling. We've had up to 1325 ppm lithium. And so recently, I've sent a couple geologists there to do some more sampling. I expect to have those results in the next actually week to 10 days. So we're very soon going to have results at a Fish Lake Valley. It's very close to being drill ready. It's never been drilled before, and we're hoping to drill that project either on our own or with a partner sometime here in 2023. So really exciting area. We're next to a mine that's going to go into construction here in the next 12 months or so, and we're looking forward to having a maiden drill program at Fish Lake Valley sometime in 2023.
Thank you. The Ioneer project, Rhyolite Ridge, it's a lithium clay, and it hasn't been... I don't think there are any lithium clay projects which are in production at the moment. And so they obviously have done extensive metallurgical testing and test work, and they're obviously comfortable with their process flow sheet. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so close to getting a $700 million loan and coming into production. Can you talk to me a bit about their approach to the mineral processing, and is that something you're following exactly or closely or not at all?
Well, we follow it closely. There's a number of world-class projects that are about to go into production or construction. If you look at Ioneer's project at Rhyolite Ridge, obviously, Ford, Toyota, and Panasonic and the U.S. government are comfortable with the metallurgical work and processing work that they expect to do from a hard rock and clay standpoint. And then if you look at Lithium Americas, they're in northern Nevada, New York Stock Exchange company. General Motors recently announced a $650 million U.S. investment. And again, they're backed by some of the top lithium institutions in the world, as well as the U.S. government. And, we expect shovels to go into the ground on that project here in the next 12 months as well. So, there's a number of projects in the state of Nevada that are about to be given the green light or have already been given the green light to go ahead. So, the fact that we're a junior, we have some companies that are much farther along than us that are working through those technological challenges, that have deep pockets, very smart people, and we're not going to reinvent anything here. We're going to follow their lead. We believe that their process technologies and their expertise with independent third parties are going to work at our projects as well. So again, we follow them, but the key for us really in the near term, our near-term goal here is to make a discovery and ultimately get to a resource. Those are things that we want to accomplish in the next 24 months, and we're on track, hopefully, to do that with some key milestones upcoming here in 2023.
Yeah, agreed. First step, discover it, and then the engineers get to work. They've got to put their brains to it to see whether, first of all, it can be kind of processed and dug up. But absolutely, first step is to make that discovery.
Well, and the fact that, again, the reason why I think we've got one of the best portfolios in North America is if we have an operating mine that's next door, that's processing it, or that is going through all that construction work, and we're next door with a hopefully what it will be an economic resource one day. They've already figured all those things out. We're not going into a new region. We're not in the middle of the jungle somewhere with no infrastructure. We're not, in the northern Arctic where we're not close to market. And so the benefits of us being in places like Nevada, where there's active expertise, and then even in areas such as southeastern Manitoba or Saskatchewan, we're near market. We're near the market. We're near good technology. We're near active companies that are in production. And this gives us huge advantages down the road if we're successful with the drill bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. You mentioned some big names in there. You've Toyota, Panasonic, the Department of Energy, Global, General Motors. Obviously, anybody who's following the sector will understand the longer-term fundamentals for lithium. The projections are on lithium demand are pretty spectacular. And if you listened to Elon Musk and the Tesla presentation recently, again, that's reinforcing the lithium demand. Even with technologies, it's still a lot of demand that's required. And yet, in the market at the moment, we're seeing quite a lot of weakness. So the lithium carbonate prices, I think, peaked at $86,000 a ton in mid-November last year, and here we are at the beginning of March, and the prices are down at $46,000 a ton. I mean, they're still fantastic prices, but the short-term trajectory is down. Goldman's are saying that they could hit as low as $34,000 a ton. What's your perspective on kind of what's happening in the short-term lithium market, and where might it get to before that kind of the upward trend is resumed?
Well, I certainly follow some of the independent research firms out there on forecasts, and a number of investment banks. We do work on what's in our control and what's out of our control. We do follow, but we have to remember that the lithium prices have been up over 20 times in the last 2.5 years. There was a long period of time where lithium prices were below 10,000 a ton. So really the last couple of years is unprecedented. And even the price that we are currently today, although it's pulled back, is certainly in a range or that has not been seen for a very long period of time. Most of the major companies, whether they be mines in production or miners that are about to go into production, and then even parts of the supply chain, whether it be off-takers, technology, auto manufacturers, commodity traders, all of industry, typically in their forecast, they've been using a very, very conservative price when it comes to the commodity. You won't see a single PEA or a pre-feasibility study or feasibility study that's using, $80,000 a ton. And that's just really how the industry typically operates. We see it in other commodities. And so in many cases, the economics that are being put out there, and by the way, are very, very good. We've got great IRRs, we've got huge NPVs, we've got very, very robust economics on projects, and they're using a very conservative lithium price. So although we see this volatility in the market on a week-by-week or month-by-month basis, I think even in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 50,000s a ton range, economics look very, very good. And if we happen to see the return to 60, 70, 80,000 a ton, I think it just bodes well for the industry and for companies like ours and our industry.
Yeah, good. There's so much going on off a relatively small base. I mean, your market capitalization is still pretty mini relative to many of your peers in the market. How's the marketing going? What are your plans for marketing at PDAC next week? Have you got a program ahead?
Well, we've been very busy. We're a fairly new company, and we've had our running shoes on, Merlin. Obviously, it's been a very busy first 2 years. I think we've done a great job in assembling this portfolio and doing work on our projects, and now we're very active with drilling in Canada, drilling in the United States, and a third project in the US that's drill ready. So, we've been very busy, and now my attention really is focused on meeting with investors, meeting with strategics, meeting with potential joint venture partners. And I've really begun that this year in 2023 and putting more attention in there as our projects advance. And as a result, we've generated quite a bit of interest in our company. And I've got a very busy PDAC week next week. I'm flying to Toronto on Sunday to the world's largest mining conference, and my schedule is jam-packed. I'm actually turning away meetings. People are highly interested in our projects. Again, I think we've got one of the best portfolios in North America. We're excited to create value for our shareholders, which can be done in a variety of ways. We obviously need to increase our fundamentals and our milestones here corporately, but there's also opportunities to form joint ventures, technology joint ventures, to have other mining companies look at us and invest in us, to earn into our project. So there's a number of things we can do, and because we've got a good-sized portfolio, we have flexibility, again, how we can create value for our shareholders in possibly non-dilutive ways as well. So again, it's an exciting week. There's going to be some good conversations happening morning, noon, and night next week. I'm excited to get there, and hopefully we can create some interesting partnerships over the weeks ahead.
Well, look after your liver, and obviously don't drink too much. That's a key part of maximizing your time at PDAC.
Well, thank you, Merlin. We'll make the best of it, and I really appreciate your time today. It's good to chat again.